Hello and welcome. This is NTA Tuesday Live and I'm Cyril Stober. Now, the reserved seats bill for women in Nigeria's national and state assemblies is crucial for sustainable development by promoting gender equality and inclusivity, ultimately leading to more representative and effective governance by ensuring women's participation in decision-making. Now, the bill can address gender-specific issues and improve overall governance outcomes. The legislation seeks to alter the long-standing narrative of exclusion and underrepresentation that has marred the political landscape. Tonight, NTA Tuesday Live will focus on the importance of the Reserved Seats Bill to Nigeria's development, but that would be after this report put together by Ngozi Teknikio.
The Reserved Seat Bill aims to increase women's representation in government, promoting inclusive governance and sustainable development. By allocating 37 additional seats exclusively for women in the Senate chamber and the same number at the House of Representatives, the bill seeks to address the significant imbalance or underrepresentation of women in Nigerian politics, especially at the decision-making fora, including the state houses of assembly.
If this scales, that means in one stroke, we have gotten 35% affirmation at the highest level of legislative work in our country. Nigeria will be applauded globally. If we have more women in the House of Rep, more women in the Senate, it will now help us have women in leadership position who can go back and convince their fellow women on the right things to do.
Women understand children, women understand men, women understand the girl child. And a woman will come to the round table with these people like a mother.
The bill's passage will contribute to Nigeria's sustainable development by ensuring that women, who make up nearly 50% of the population, have a voice in the decision-making processes that affect children, youths, women, and the general populace. Furthermore, some women advocates, while applauding the Reserved Seat Bill, say it is crucial to ending insecurity, neonatal and maternal mortality, among others.
Any woman who is able to make secondary education, the chances of that child in that family dying from any of these diseases that bedevel children comes down by 500%. You see the importance of education. And when you talk about education, we're talking about awareness, creating areas of women understanding, giving them skills, knowledge, and ability to think for themselves. It will also look to empower young women to aspire.
With the seats reserved for women, that means that a whole lot of women will come out to support women. And, that would bring a lot of development. It will bring a lot of empowerment. Because really, a woman wants to be able to see other children, other people like her own children. It wants to be able to see that our constituency where she's coming from is being developed so that she will be remembered.
Despite the bill's potential benefits, Nigerian women are advised to address some challenges in order to facilitate the passage of the bill and as well make lasting impact. The general consensus is that the Reserved Seat Bill is important to promoting women empowerment, leading to sustainable development in Nigeria. Its passage will mark a significant milestone in the country's quest for inclusive governance.
All right, that report sets the tone for tonight's discussion. Let's introduce our guests. You would like to welcome to this program Dame Pauline Talon, a former Minister of Women Affairs and a gender advocate, and a former Deputy Governor of Plateau State. Thanks for being here with us.
Thanks for being here.
Right.
It's nice being here, Cyril. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me also welcome to this program Professor Joy Izilu, OON, a Nigerian law professor, a senior advocate of Nigeria, a life bencher, and activist and founder, WECOL. Thanks for being here, Prof.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to be here live. Last time I think it was virtual.
And joining us also tonight is Dr. Otive Igbuzo, founding executive director, African Center for Leadership, Strategy and Development. Dr. Igbuzo, always nice to see you.
It's my pleasure.
Right. Well, we will be joined by Samson Itodo, executive director, Yaga Africa. He'll join us via Zoom much later in the program. But back to the studio here, let's begin to look at the issues with regard to the special seat bill. And let's start off with you, Dame Pauline Talon. You're no stranger to representation of women in governance. You were an elected deputy governor yourself. Later on became a minister. So give us your feeling about this reserved seat bill.
Thank you very much, Cyril. The reserved seat would be the best thing that would happen to Nigeria because the significant low percentage of women in the National Assembly, both the lower and the upper house, and also the State Assembly, is embarrassing. The gap is so wide. In the National Assembly, in the Senate, we have just 3.7% of women. 4 women out of 109. And yet we call ourselves the giant of Africa. And the whole of Africa, I'm sorry to say, we are the least represented. Women are the least represented in the whole of Africa. And this is the biggest African country in the whole continent. This is the country that other African countries are looking up to. It's not that we don't have the qualified women. We have all that it takes. But I believe, and I can see light at the end of the tunnel, because I'm confident that under this present leadership, Mr. President and the First Lady will definitely, as core politicians, they will give us the political will. And once we have their blessings, we are good to go.
All right. Well, we'll look at things in greater detail as we go on. But Prof, your opening comments about the issues at stake.
Yeah. I think if you look at the reason, what's the purpose of the special seat bill? The main purpose is to redress the political imbalance. Because where the power is, women are not. And if you look, women are politically underrepresented. The Honorable Minister has given the statistics, and it's important to put it in perspective. Overall, we have just about 5% representation of women in politics in Nigeria. And when you look at the global average is over 26%. Then you can see where Nigeria is. And then coming home to Africa, if you look at even the Global Gender Gap report, you find that Nigeria is, I think from 2024 is 139 position. It has just moved from 146 to, and we are the giant, you know, at least among the first 4 African countries you can always talk to. But when you look at other African countries, similarly situated, of those that, you know, when you talk of African Union, who are the movers and shakers, you think of Nigeria, you think of South Africa, you think of Algeria, you think of Egypt, you think of Senegal. If you look at those countries, South Africa is well above 40%. Senegal is well above 40%. So you find that Nigeria is the one that is lagging. And then when you look at even West Africa, even Cameroon, Gambia, all of other countries, Cape Verde, they are well ahead of us. Is this where we want to be? At the end of 2023 general election, the result was dismal. And we have to understand the impact or the correlation to sustainable development, to sustainable democracy itself, to even peace building, to human development, to leadership itself, because I believe that women's participation will definitely raise the quality of leadership. And the special seat is women. I always refer to the first ever proclamation on the rights and freedom of everyone. That's the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. He said and in fact, it stipulates in that very declaration right of everyone to participate in the government of their country. And other international treaties that Nigeria has ratified built on that, including the African Charter on Human and People's Rights and the Protocol to the African Charter on Rights of Women in Africa, the CEDAW. All of these are well amplified. So why is Nigeria, because that's the big question, because when people meet Nigerian women, they can't even believe that we have this percentage. Other African countries will say, oh, even though, in fact, the whole world, oh, I love Nigerian women. They bring so much on the table. They are intelligentsia, educationists, very, very. But then look at them even at world stage. You can think of Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. Look at DSG, Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations. I mean, so when people look at them, they even take things for granted. They are shocked when they know the real percentage and statistical information with regard to powerlessness, with regard to underrepresentation of women in Nigeria. So it's something that is about time it should be redressed. And we should see that as part of inclusion. Participation is key in every democracy. Inclusion is very important in giving everyone a sense of belonging, especially women, to be part of democratic Nigeria.
All right. Thank you so very much. Dr. Abuja.
I think that I want to look at it from the global perspective, that underrepresentation of women in politics is a global challenge, and it's also a historical challenge. All over the world, the time that women started voting in elections is different from the time that men started voting. In the United Kingdom, it was a difference of 51 years. In Sweden, it was 498 years. In Nigeria, it's 56 years. Nigerian situation is very dramatic. The first election in Nigeria was held during the colonial rule in 1923, following the Clifford Constitution of 1922. And by that constitution, the only people that are allowed to vote are men, not just every man. Very poor men are excluded from voting. You must be a man and you show from your tax clearance that you earn at least £100 a year. By the 1946 Richard Constitution, the property qualifications were reduced for men only from £100 to £50. By the Macpherson Constitution of 1951, property qualification was removed for only men, but it's only men that were allowed to vote. It was not until 1979 here that all women in Nigeria voted in a general election. So the discrimination has been historic, and it's all over the world. However, with increase in knowledge, people have now recognized that you cannot shut 50% of your population from political leadership. And research has shown that when women are in positions of leadership, development is faster, because development in terms of people-centered development look at issues of infrastructure, education, health, and agriculture. And studies show that when women are in parliament, more money is voted for education, more money is voted for water, more money is voted for maternal mortality. So countries all over the world are making efforts to increase women participation. And like Prof said, the global average is 20-something. In some African countries, Rwanda is 60-something. But Nigeria, instead of making progress. From 2007, the numbers have been decreasing. That today, in 14 houses of assembly in Nigeria, there is no single woman at all in the House of Assembly. So this bill seeks to right the wrongs of the past and to accelerate our development, because it's unfortunate that Nigeria is struggling at the last position with Eritrea and Niger. Niger is a military regime. Eritrea has not conducted election since 1994. So Nigeria is in a very shameful and precarious position. And given the fact that poverty is increasing in Nigeria, while it is decreasing in other countries, it is imperative for women to be in leadership positions.
Sometimes I'm tempted to ask this question. If we're right there at the bottom of the ladder, what are these factors that have determined that such slow progress has been made? And even when some progress, some appreciable progress was made, it took only a few years for everything to slide back. Is it the political awareness that's missing? I mean, you ran for elective posts. You've had both elective and appointive positions. And how tough was that?
It was tough, but Nigerian women are equal to the task. It's not that Nigerian women don't come out to contest. They come out. The statistics have shown that more women came out. The past two elections, over 2,000 women came out. The last election, over 1,000 women came out in the state assemblies. And all that we got is just 51% in the whole 36 states. And as Prof. rightly said, 14 states don't even have one woman. It is so shameful that it is the men in the houses of assembly that are chairing the women's committee. What have they to say? What do they know about women issues? When women are on the decision table, things happen. Because the woman is not there to speak for herself. She speaks for the family, for this community, and for the nation. One, a woman is a mother. She nurtures the entire family. In fact, we call the husbands our firstborn, because the husbands need more attention than even the children. So the mother manages the husband, manages the children, manages everything in the home. And I'm sure, Steve, you can testify to this, that sometimes you don't even know where some things that belongs to you are lying in the room. She arranges and manages the home. She's the best manager. She is the financial secretary. She manages the accounts. And once a woman is in charge, things go well for the family, for the community, and for the nation. So it's not about just women being there. It's about national development. When women are there, they speak on critical matters. You've had the opening. If a woman is educated, she will know the right medication to give her child. She will ensure that her child is taken for maternal care, and that all the immunization is given to the child, so the child will be healthy because she knows the right food to give the child. All these things put in place is to help the progress of the nation. But when women are completely outside line, it's like a pilot flying on one wings, or a man walking on one limb. We are completely disabled because 50% of our population is completely out of governance, and that is unacceptable globally.
One of the things one should wonder about is that this isn't the first time that attempts have been made to pass a bill. Last time, the last assembly, it fell flat on its face. And so many Nigerians were wondering, what went wrong. And now that you have a renewed vigor, how would it be ensured that what happened the last assembly doesn't happen again? Was it the lack of advocacy? Was it that people didn't realize the importance of those bills that had to do with the position of women? Or, as they say, was it something that the fact generally that it's a man's world and let's hold on to it?
Yeah, it's a combination of factors. And then you have to look at a political landscape, look at the terrain, look at what power has become in Nigeria, which is access to immediate resources. And this is not what men or people who are the gladiators will, so to speak, want to give up on. Within that last, the last 9th assembly, there were about 5 gender bills. They all failed because part of the constitution review process is that if it fails in one, even if it had passed in the other, it will fail. So, but then you look at those issues, they are of critical concern for women. So, but this time around, you can see that women have like maybe pushing for a special seat and dropping other 4 to get focused. Probably some feedback like you were asking for too much at the same time in one fell swoop. But I think really some didn't understand and some thought it was going to start immediately applicable in that election. Actually, the bill last time stated that it will be in the next cycle of elections, for which many later said they didn't understand. But of course, the issue is that now there is not only more awareness, a lot more stakeholder consultation, a lot more talking to gatekeepers, and then of course the legislators themselves have known that they don't want a repeat of Occupy National Assembly or Occupy State Assembly because it might degenerate, it might become out, So now, and when they travel, they belong to Interparliamentary Union, they see other countries. Some of them are really beginning to say, actually, we are ashamed because we go to Rwanda, is over 61%. We come to Namibia, is this. You go to South Africa, you see your colleagues from Kenya, they have it in their constitution. You look at laws, Senegal, and they're beginning to ask themselves, why are we different? If it's to join civilized sociology, let's do it. So I think the momentum is now. And importantly, this year is Beijing plus 30. 30 years post-4th World Conference on Women, which was a landmark that recognized 30% affirmative action in elective and appointive position. And 30 years down the line, women are still asking for what many have taken for granted in other countries. Before Beijing, Nigeria started, in fact, at the eve of the Beijing 1994, during the regional consultation in Dakar that I was, they announced that they have established Federal Ministry of Women Affairs. It was part of the games of Beijing. And then we come home, all of the agreed action we renege. It's not desirable.
Ironically, when the politicians go out there, they seek votes. And since, of course, Nigerian women started voting, they appeal to them and they come out in their numbers and cast their ballots. But when it comes to bringing them into governance, it's a different matter altogether. So what might be this thing? Is it thinking that there is an attempt to push men to play second fiddle or something? What's the driving consideration behind not wanting people to be part of a system, but asking them to help you get there?
Yeah, I think there are many reasons why this happened. And the general organizing reason is the way society is organized itself, patriarchy, where how there is male dominance of every sector, and how from socialization of the boy child and the girl child, they are socialized differently. And the boy child is socialized to be aggressive, to see himself as a leader, And the girl child is socialized to be timid, to be obedient. If a boy child jumps on the table, say, yeah, that's my son, very active. If a girl child jumps on the table, say, please come down, don't you know you are a girl? So from socialization. And part of the problem is the violent nature of elections. There has been studies which show that, in fact, if women, general public people, we prefer women in appointive position rather than elected. These are studies that have been done because they think that elections are too violent. So the violent nature of elections, there is also cultural issues that people think that women should not participate in the public sphere, but in the private sphere. So there are a lot of reasons that are responsible for this. But we must note that things are changing. And I think that is the point. And the possibility of this bill passing is higher than the possibility in 2023. In 2022, because remember that since return to civil rule in 1999, the 1999 elections, the politician contested without seeing a copy of the Constitution. It was after elections that the Constitution was promulgated by decree. And when it was promulgated by decree, both conservative lawyers, radical lawyers, ordinary citizens, protested that the 1999 Constitution was an imposition on the people and that it needed to be reformed drastically. Many civil society organizations, started the process of constitutional reform, produced a model constitution to deal with all the sectors all the sections of the Constitution. But what happened? From 1999 to 2003, not one line was changed. From 2003 to 2007, not one line was changed. From 2007 to 2011, not one line was changed. Then people said, okay, let's start looking at specific sections. And from that time, the issue of women representation in and reserved seat bill has been on the agenda. In 2011, the number of votes were very small. In 2015, the number increased. In 2019, the number increased. In 2023, some of this thing almost hit the number required for those amendments. So there has been progressive increase in awareness, in the need, in the knowledge for this to happen. And also, in the last 5 gender bills that were rejected, you didn't have Tuesday Night Live focusing on it like this. You didn't have a lot of people talking about it. So we are confident that this time around, and as advocates, we are also ready to name and shame. Yeah. And so we want to also push that if people are going to vote against this reserved seat bill, we want to know those people. And we'll call them out. Their daughters will know. It will be in history. And in fact, some people are already documenting those people who are against. So there is a policy moment where the people want the change and the leadership, they are amenable to the change. And so we think that this bill this time around will pass.
At this point, we'll pause for a short message. Stay with us.
About elective and appointive positions in the ongoing constitutional reforms. Are you wondering what this is about?
It is very simple. Gender quota is a policy that ensures a fair representation of both men and women in leadership and governance spaces.
It is designed to create a more balanced and inclusive environment by setting a minimum threshold for either gender, recognizing that both men and women bring valuable perspectives to decision making.
For example, this is in place in Rwanda, where women make up 61% of the parliament. And in Namibia, where women make up 46.2%.
In Nigeria, without a gender quota, women in parliament are 4.7%.
With a gender quota,
we can change this narrative.
Join the movement.
The point has been made about political will. But you'd also recall that Nigeria has been part of so many decisions, signatories to so many agreements, and those in office, who hold office, have not been too impressive in carrying out some of these things that they are signatories to. You'd imagine that even subsequent administrations, after the enlightenment about all of this started, have not been too quick to even appoint women, to even fulfill what was there before, the quota before. So what makes you think they'll do that this time around?
We are hoping and we are trusting God that there will be change this time. The bill itself is being proposed by the National Assembly. So I must commend the Speaker, Right Honorable Abbas Tajuddin. He is committed to it. He has shown visible commitment. And I believe with the zeal in him and the way he has, he's already navigating the members, and with this strong commitment, because I think it is time. People are ready, and the leadership will have no choice but to key in, because you've heard what Prof said, the naming and shaming. The civil society organizations, every women are the ones that come out to vote. Okay. Women are the ones that champion the campaign. Women are serious, and this time we will not let it go. Whoever is against this bill
is against us.
Is against us. And we will definitely
let me
go out.
Let me bring in this
person.
aspect of this. Now, those who are in the National Assembly and the state assemblies are the products of political parties. Yeah. Let's go back to the political parties, sure. Including, you're a politician. How well have the political parties themselves done in encouraging women's participation? You go to the parties, all you see is woman leader.
Yes.
In fact, there was a time we heard that a woman leader in one party was a man.
Was a man, sure. There's so much efforts to intensify advocacy on the political parties. IPAC, that's the coalition of all political parties. We've had a program recently where they are the one leading this process. IPAC are committed. But more, I want to lean more, because I gave a paper that day, and I said the ruling party should lead by example. So the ball goes back to the leadership of our party. I'm proud to say that I'm a member of the APC, and I know the national chairman is committed. The leader of the party is Mr. President. Wow. And Mr. President is a co-politician, and this is a golden opportunity for him to appease the women. During the last campaign, he promised us 35%.
He didn't do so well keeping that promise.
Yes, but this is his last chance. As he's going in for his second tenure, women are waiting, and women are just waiting to see if he shows that commitment and that political will. Definitely will all queen for him. And I must commend that his wife is already doing well for women. She's committed, and she's having programs where she's empowering women here and there. This evening, if you watch the 9 o'clock news, she was in Enugu for the Shine, It's Time to Shine.
Right.
The program that she's addressing apart from midwives, the HIV and all these programs, so that the self-esteem, and for women to have that sense of belonging. So areas that women are suffering, she's addressing it. And she has been a politician. Out of the whole first ladies we've had in Nigeria, we've not had, she has the best credential as a politician. Because she was in the National Assembly as a member of the House of Representatives. She was a senator, not once, not twice, 3 times. So that has given her, she knows what it feels to be there, and she suffered the minority in the Senate and in the House of Reps. So this is a golden opportunity for her to lean on this, catch on it, and drive it.
Well, Prof, still along those lines.
Yeah, I think the political parties, they have also socialized women to becoming cheerleaders. But this has changed. If you notice, the type of and class of women that are now joining politics that are card-carrying members, they are also changing this narrative. If you look at party constitution, I once analyzed when there were about 51 parties, all the political parties' constitutions and manifestos. And it revealed that most of them had provisions for affirmative action from 10 to 20 to 30 to even 50. But when it comes to implementation, they don't implement it. And this is where we're even saying that even for card-carrying party members, who may not be able to take action for them, they should be able to question the party. There must be an internal accountability process to make sure that what you put in your manifesto and in your party constitution is translated into action. And that's where the problem is, that people don't have this kind of sophisticated engagement at party level. We are still evolving, and we want to see more of it. But I think given the favorable provisions in most party constitutions towards affirmative action, the waiver of nomination, expression of interest has long been done almost by every party, even though some women will still argue it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, well, okay, they waived all those only for the women to come up stage and step down for the men.
Because because it's not want of women not coming out, like the Honorable Minister says. Take, for example, the House of Assembly election. There were 990 women fielded for that election at State Houses of Assembly. How many emerged? Only 48. You see, so there were 1,019.
Yes.
And only 48 emerged. So 48 out of 990 House of Assembly seats across the country. That's very dissimilar. So women are coming out, and they keep telling us they are not qualified women. Oh, what is it not the same? We all know what qualification is in terms of political participation. Is it not school certificate? So how are they not qualified? Some of them have their degree holders, some of them have second degrees, they have PhDs. So, but I think it's the mindset. And it goes back to patriarchy. It goes back to power relations. It goes back to conceptualized dichotomy of public and private spheres, reproductive and productive, where a place of woman should be and what you should pursue. These are what takes time to really to change. We understand that. That's where we're engaging. And that's why media is very crucial in shaping and setting that agenda. In fact, there was a research, someone was telling me who completed her PhD, and her research was on looking at print media and coverage of women in politics. You'll be shocked. The coverage was 2%. 2% in print media. And out of that 2%, the coverage was even for wrong reasons, because most of them, they will be asking them, very flimsy, annoying questions, around families. They don't take them seriously. They don't even ask them important questions. They center on feminine things, so to speak. Feminine things are not bad. I'm happy I'm a woman, But then it's not the same yardstick when you're also talking to a male politician? And why 2%? For crying out loud. And then you begin to ask the media. Sometimes they will tell you, women shy away. We'll call them. They will not come. Hey, they don't budget for media. You know, yes, we know we are teaching also women as we build capacity. If you're planning your political campaign, you must have a budget. You must plan very well. Yes, we are doing that. But I think it's unfair because they don't go to reach out to them to find out what is their agenda. And why are you seeking for this office? They don't hear them out. They don't even give them chance. So before they set out, they already dismiss them, that they're not going to survive the terrain, which we know, of course, is very rough, and which we know, of course, is not enabling for all the factors we have discussed: monetization, godfatherism. How many godmothers do we have? We have, of course, them talent as the excellency. How many godmothers do we have? Highly monetized politics. So those are the things we are talking about.
Well, Prof, you mentioned mindset, and that's where I'm coming to Dr. Abuja from. The mindset, that's difficult to change. Have a lot of work to do on that. And perhaps along the line, you'd have the cultural issues as well. I know that many have discussed the matter of religion and said it is a misunderstanding and misinterpretation of religion that's making people hold fast to stereotypes. But what about cultural factors? And then the mindset, which you find is the most difficult to deal with. How do we go about this?
Yeah, the mindset is a big problem. In fact, it's not only women. There is a problem of mindset about politics in Nigeria. Right. So there are many decent people, many God-fearing people, many religious people who think that politics is a dirty game and therefore they should not participate in politics. It's a problem of mindsets and it's a problem of ignorance because we know that politics is so important in every society. Mm-hmm. Politics determines whether there will be food or no food. Politics determines education. In fact, politics determines religion. Politics determines a lot of things. In fact, politics is a matter of life or death because it determines life expectancy. However, people have wrong notions about politics. For instance, religious people think that politics is a dirty game. In fact, the new religion, if you take Christianity, for instance, many Pentecostals think that a good Christian, a born-again Christian, should not participate in politics. It's just ignorance, because we know from history that the world as constituted today has never been always like this. Modern political parties, we talked about parties, the role they play. Modern political parties across the world only started in the 18th century. From the 1st century to the 17th century, how were political leaders emerging? At a time it was monarchy. Mm-hmm. So in France, in United Kingdom, is the king that was ruling. It was not through elections. At a time, in the 4th century, it was Christianity. The state was fused with Christianity. The bishop of a place is the governor of the place. At a time, the Pope was like the president of the world. That the king of France and king of United Kingdom or Britain were paying tributes, taxes to them, such that there was a powerful France monarch who had to move the headquarters from Rome to Paris. And at the time, there were 2 popes, one in Paris, one in Rome. But people are not knowledgeable about all of these things and say, if you are a Christian, you don't participate in politics. Which Christian? Which religion? Which Christian? Is it the one that you have in your head? When the Bible says in Proverbs chapter 19, verse 3, that when the righteous are in authority, people rejoice. When the wicked beareth rule, the people groan. And part of the challenges we are having in many parts of the world, including Nigeria, is that many wicked people are in politics. And we have been warned about this issue. Plato counseled that if you refuse to participate in politics, you will be ruled by your inferiors. And Edmund Burke stated that, for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. And Frantz Fanon stated that, every onlooker in society is either a coward or a traitor. So the mindset needs to be changed, not just for women participation, but the whole of society. If the mindset is changed and this situation where politics is dominated by charlatans and violent individuals, then if politics become more decent, automatically more women will participate in things. Because one of the things deterring women from participating in politics is violence. Yeah. And I think that we all owe it a duty, because all of these discussions we are talking about reserving seats for women, is not favor done to women. It is a necessity. It is first a right, because if democracy is about participation, removing 50% from positions of authority, that is no longer democracy, so properly called. And as a matter of fact, when women are in positions of authority, development is faster. And Nigeria needs that development. Some years ago, around 2018, Nigeria was hosting the third largest number of poor people in the world. India was hosting the largest number of poor people in the world, and China was hosting the second largest, and Nigeria 3. And the population of China and India is about 7 times that of Nigeria, 1.4, 1.5 billion, and Nigeria is 200. But in a period of 15 years, through enlightened leadership, through active citizens, and through good policies like social protection policies, China lifted 730 million people out of poverty. And India lifted 170 million people out of poverty. It was during that period that Nigeria became the global capital of poverty. So the point is that we are in a stage in the world today where there is knowledge. Knowledge to deal with every conceivable problem on earth. Is it agriculture? We know what to do. In terms of input, in terms of access to market, in terms of access to input, in terms of access to fertilizers, and in terms of preventing post-harvest losses. Is it education? We know what to do in terms of access to education, in terms of quality education, and in terms of relevance or content of education. Is it security? We know what to do. So the challenge is to get the right leadership that will get the right strategy, and then the people will be active in that process. Once this is done, even the challenge we are seeing of people resisting women participation will be a thing of the past.
All right. Well, I believe we are being joined at this point by Samson Itodo, Executive Director, Yaga Africa. He joins us via Zoom. Samson, are you there?
Yes, good morning.
Yes, okay. Good to have you join us.
Thanks for having me.
Probably it's morning where you are, right? Okay. We'll get there soon enough. But I want to believe that you've followed us thus far on the discussion here, and You're no stranger to these issues, so let's hear your perspective.
Thank you very much. I think that the three eminent speakers have addressed the issue, why this is a constitutional imperative, why this is a corrective measure, why this is even a moral imperative. I don't know what else to add, but just to say two things, that the National Assembly and the state governors and the president have a unique opportunity, and it's an opportunity to pass a law that will etch their name, not just in the heart of Nigerians, but in the annals of our political history. Because the Reserve Seats Bill is an important bill, like it has been said, that addresses some structural, inequities within our political system, but that the country tends to benefit if it passes this particular legislation. So this is really a legacy legislation for the National Assembly, for state houses of assemblies, including the president, because you need a composite of these three different actors, to pass this legislation. I think the second most important thing to add here is that Nigeria is in search for transformative, accountable, and responsive leadership. We need our women to be in office to provide this kind of leadership. We're not saying that the men don't have the capacity to provide this leadership, but they cannot do that alone. So if you have a country where, from a demographic perspective, or even population, you have a huge number of women, about 50% of our population, then you need to have women in public office. And I dare say that the cultural, the religious reasons that have been advanced, by opponents of this bill, yes, we acknowledge those reasons. But when you do your cost-benefit analysis, the cost of keeping women out of public office is greater than what we currently have. So my point is just simply that this is the right time to pass this legislation. And we hope that the National Assembly, state houses of assemblies, including the president, will answer this call. Because if they do, they will be answering the call of history. And history will be fair to them if they do this. If they don't, they will be telling Nigerians and the world that as a country, we hate women. And I must put it that way, because that's simply what it means. Because like you mentioned, Cyril, this is not the first time this bill has been introduced. There wasn't any reason why it was killed in the last time. So I think this is really an opportunity, and I hope they seize it.
Yes, it is, just for a specific number of election cycles. Yeah. So within this period, you do hope that the country would have built enough base, a solid foundation for more women to participate. Otherwise, you might find there's a misunderstanding and say, okay, once we have done this and that's it.
You didn't get the earlier part of your question, but could you take that again?
Yes, it's a temporary measure, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
It's a temporary measure because what's the essence of temporary measures? Temporary measures are stopgaps, are solutions, are interventions you put in place to address an emergency situation. And we need to recognize that we're actually in a state of national political emergency because the ground is not leveled for everyone. And we should be worried and concerned as a country that we are not actually fulfilling a democratic ideal that over the last 26 years of democratic expedition, the ground has been tilted against women. That is unacceptable. We just need to acknowledge that. And that's the first point. And when we acknowledge that, we will think about mechanisms like the Reserve Seat Bill that seeks to do what? To provide a level playing field for all. But a situation where, whether through formal construction or informal practices, we criminalize political aspiration of women, it's not acceptable. And I just want to reiterate and underscore the point being made about whether this is either a handout, whether this is tokenistic in every respect. In every estimation, it isn't. It's a temporary measure that seeks to address a particular gap. When we address this gap and we come back as a country and reflect that we have now attained a point where a level playing field has been created, then we can renegotiate the parameters and the mechanisms for political aspiration or political candidacy. But currently, the bar is too low for a country like Nigeria. And I dare say that Nigeria is too important as a country to have this kind of poor records and poor credentials of women representation in parliament. It's really embarrassing. Given the quality of women that we have as a country, it is shameful. And I hope that our leaders, will answer this call of history and make Nigerians proud that they are leaders that are responsive, that they listen to their people, because Nigerians have said we want Reserve Seat Bill. This is not about women. It is Nigerians who have said that they want Reserve Seat Bill. The legislators are representatives of the people. So as they stand up in the parliament to say they stand to represent X number or this particular constituency, they need to listen to the people. And this is what the people have said. Anything to the contrary would really undermine public interest.
All right. Okay. At this point, we'll take a short break. When we return, there'll be more on the Reserve Seats Bill, and hopefully we'll take in your calls. So stay with us on NTA Tuesday Live. We'll be back shortly.
From the Atlantic across the savannah to the Sahara, we rise, a land of the free, we know they tire. We dream great, our spirit is undying.
Resilient, rooted like palm tree, we sway in colors, we turn dark into light, we make solutions, we ignite passion, yeah. Ethnicity is unique, we are more than just a nation.
We are Nigeria, strengthening unity, we know they carry lives. We are Nigeria, together live the dream of a land with great destiny. We are Nigeria.
I am the real Nigerian. Brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA.
The federal government of Nigeria warns vandals of national assets, electricity transmission towers, cables, and other facilities to desist from this act of sabotage. Vandalism is a serious crime punishable under the law. Vandalizing electrical equipment will affect millions of Nigerians, including your loved ones. Remember that national assets belong to all of us, hence the need to protect them. Report all cases of suspicious movement around electrical facilities to security agencies. When you see something, say something. This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation in collaboration with the National Counter-Terrorism Center, NCTC, Office of the National Security Advisor.
I am inviting you to join the Side by Side Niger campaign.
At Side by Side Niger, we are asking for just one thing: fair representation of men and women in government through elective and appointive positions.
Why do we need more women in parliament?
Why do we need more women in government?
Only 4 out of 109 senators are women. Only 16 out of 360 House of Representatives are women. In the history of Nigeria, there has never been a female governor. Only 7 out of 36 deputy governors are women. In 14 states, women affairs matters are being headed by men.
But guess what? Women are half the population of Nigeria.
Women also make up to 47.5% of voters. More women should be part of making laws and policies that impact their lives.
Join the movement.
NTA Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
Thanks for staying with us. It's still about the special seats bill. This segment is when we open the phone lines and you can get to join in the conversation in the studio. The numbers to call will be on your screens. You can take advantage of those. And as we always advise, you go straight to the point if your call gets through to the studio. Okay. This point also, we would also take your tweets as they come in. So all what you need to know would be on your screens. Let me start off by looking at men, the role of men as allies in this struggle, if you like, if I call it. And Samson, I'll stay with you since you have very limited time to be with us. Let's hear you on men as allies. And then after that, we'll come to Dr. Abuja, who's here in the studio. Samson.
Well, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, I think men are allies, no doubt. And what allies do is not just play a supportive role, but ensure that this particular goal is achieved. And who are the male allies? It is obvious that in the entire National Assembly, that over 90% of them are men. And so the first set of male allies that we have are members of the National Assembly, including those at the state houses of assembly. And so what they need to do is to ensure that when it is time for voting, because this is a constitutional amendment bill, when it's time for voting, that they vote yes for the reserve seat bill. But they go from voting yes to the reserve seat bill to being campaigners and ambassadors for this, because we can have the bill passed, but we also need to engage with the political parties as well. And as also leaders of the parties, they have a critical role to play. So I think our first set of male allies are the men in the National Assembly. As I say this, I hope that, in 2028 or maybe post 2027, our language will change, that the National Assembly is not a male-dominated National Assembly. And that's where we want to get to as a country. The second set of male allies, that we have the president. The president, as the leader of the country. Unfortunately, and I've made this point repeatedly, the president has not, up until this moment, made any policy statement regarding this issue. And that gives me a really cause of worry, because the president also needs to see this as important, as deliverables on his campaign manifesto, that women inclusion, and representation is a priority issue. And no one would say that they are not aware that there's a reserve seat bill. And so we want to see the president visibly campaign, working with legislators in the National Assembly to say, this is a priority bill for me. And given the nature of the National Assembly, if the president actually engages with them, I dare say that this bill will receive accelerated sort of consideration and passage. And you also look at the men who are outside, this sort of positions of authority and power. And we want to see both fathers, in the respective homes. We want to see our religious leaders, men in civil society, visibly and publicly pledge their support, for this particular bill. But it also goes beyond the bill. And I think the point has been made here about changing our mindset. That patriarchy, in addition to the fact that it's a practice, is also a state of mind. And that we men need to change the way we perceive women and perceive women's leadership. I think that's the first place where we express not just solidarity, but we express support for this particular, because this bill needs to be considered in the broader context of political inclusion and also dislodging patriarchy. So men need to change the way they think about women and also women leadership. That gone are those days where we say public leadership is not for women, that it's for men. That needs to change. The same thing as male allies, we also need to tone down this toxic masculinity when we engage in discussions around women, and that leadership is not masculine in every respect, even though that's what people are socialized to think, that leadership in every respect is masculine. No, leadership isn't masculine in every respect. So that needs to change. And I think that if, as men, we join hands with our women, believe me, that the accelerated development that we would experience is just unimaginable.
Right. Well, back here in the studio, Dr. Abuja.
I agree with Samson Itodo completely. And I actually want to extend it that, look, male allies in this case should be all men of goodwill. All men of goodwill, because the problem is not problem of women. It's problem of society. And the way society has been structured from time immemorial is what has led to this. And, studies have shown that if we continue at the rate we are going, it will take over 200 years to close the gender gap between men and women. And why that is happening, it is society as a whole that suffers. That is why, there is a statement we always make that quality men do not fear equality with women. Men do not lose anything if they walk hand in hand with women. And like Samson Itodo has stated, leadership is not masculine.
All right.
Leadership is influence. Leadership requires emotional intelligence. It requires sensitivity. And studies have shown conclusively that women have that more than men.
Okay.
So,
let me ask you to pause a while here. And taking this call that's coming in from Lagos. Joy calling in from Lagos. Hello, Joy. Go ahead.
Yes. Oh, wow. Hello?
Hello, Joy. Go ahead.
Hi. Hello?
Yes, Joy. Go ahead.
I love Nigeria so much and I love your show.
Right. Okay, what do you have to say about the issues we're discussing?
Good evening.
Yes, good evening.
About the issues we're discussing. I'm sorry, I didn't listen. That was how I tuned in. And I love the woman that's there. She's beautiful. I'm sorry.
All right. Okay, thank you so very much. Okay, Joy, thank you.
He said Joy is beautiful.
All right. Thank you. All right. Thank you so much, Joy. Thank you for calling in. Yes, Dr. Guzo, just as you were.
Yeah, so I was saying that, you know, the issue we are dealing with requires every, you know, man with goodwill. Every man that is interested in development. Because working with women as co-leaders will lead to accelerated development. And we need it in Nigeria. So, and it requires a lot of work. First point of work is reorientation. Reorientation of both men and women to understand that the way we've been socialized can even be harmful of what it means. There's a study that was carried out on what it means to be a man in Nigeria. And it showed that many Nigerians, young Nigerians, middle-aged Nigerians, are carrying burden that the modern society does not prepare them for. So they are classified as breadwinners and they have no bread to bring to the table. And so the men are socialized not to cry. So they carry the burden and issues without letting them out. And that is why you see today that most women outlast men.
Okay. All right, we have another caller on the line. Sadona calling in from Edo State. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
Good evening to you all.
Yes. Good evening. Go ahead.
It's a good subject people have taken. But one thing I see in the whole
Yes, Sadona.
The women, the Nigerian women, they have to belt up. The men themselves. There's no way the Nigerian men can just let go like that, because most of these positions being held, before you even talk of the next election, all these positions have been filled. So how do you now give a woman or women these chances to rule? So it's so difficult. Yes, we know the right people are not there. And with this affirmation for women, how can they come up to challenge people who, honestly, you need to see the terrain. Politics in Nigeria is like a jungle thing. You just need to be violent.
Yep,
and which of these women can be?
Yes, Sadona, you said politics is like a jungle. Should it be so?
She is once a deputy governor. Okay.
Sadona, just one question I have for you.
It's not so. It's not right. But that is the truth.
Okay, you've described. Okay, Sadona, you've described politics in Nigeria as a jungle.
But it's not right.
Yeah, but should it be so?
He has answered that it's not right.
He said it's not right. He answered it.
All right. Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Then that's more reason why you should support the bill.
Thank you very much for calling in. Well, Prof, let's go. Let's go to you first on the comments of Sadona.
I think the issue, and I think I made this point at the beginning, is that politics have become the quickest means to state capture, to get in resources for patronage, rent seekers. And so long as it is so, And that's it has become lucrative venture. You invest, you reap, and then people just decide also to partner. And sometimes the men trust men more than women. I would say, I don't know where that started, because they will tell you, I don't invest in that woman in politics. You never can tell. Women, they will come and then they will tell you, oh, my constituency, I must do this and that, and they will renege. So, but I think we have to really take this, just like Dr. Tive said, politics is such a serious business that we can't leave it to politicians alone. Okay. Because it affects all of us. It affects the food issue. It affects us in so many ways that we must have to find expression, exercise our right to participate in the government of our country. And I think the time is now for us and for those who are in control of that power to begin to relinquish or share the power. Okay. Because otherwise, without that, it questions our democracy. It will be on shaky ground, including our development.
All right, let's return to the phones. Ibrahim from Abuja calling in. Hello, Ibrahim. Go ahead.
Good evening, Cyril.
Good evening.
Good evening to your guest there. Quality guest you have on our podcast, and you've done justice to this topic. But my concern is this. First, two layers actually. One is the body language of Mr. President. Mr. President has a role to play in this bill. Because, like, Mr. Itodo mentioned, we've not seen the president really come out to address this issue. We need to see the president talk about it the way he talked about the tax reform bill, the way he has talked about some other bills. He needs to talk about it because we have a president whose wife is also a politician and a former legislator. Because both of them are politicians, and the fact that she is the poster girl of the court of the administration, we expect to hear more from the wife of the president, Her Excellency, the First Lady, and the president himself. We expect to hear more from the president. If the body language of the president is still tilted towards a male-dominated legislature or a male-dominated political system, then nothing will happen. That is one. The other layer is the women themselves. Are they really ready? Because most of the people I see are the elite.
Very ready.
I'll give you an example. Some years back, another distinguished Nigerian, a lady, Sarah Jibril, actually contested election. I think she got one vote or something. Is it that she voted for herself or whatever? I don't know. Well, we will be kind with the number of women that we have. It's obvious that when you look at statistics, you know that you have more women. They are the ones that actually are patient on the queue. They are there. They vote. Why is it that the women don't really vote for themselves? I think this is something that we need to cascade, because what we see is at just that level, it's basically the elite. And at the very, very upper echelon of the society, you have the women. But the people who are the actual voters are the ones that are down there. Are we really taking this thing? Is this message cascading down to get the women to understand that they are very, very important? And we need to amplify the voices of those women that we expect will make a huge difference with their vote. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you very much, Ibrahim. Well, Talian, I'll come to you. What are your thoughts on what Ibrahim just said now? And I'd like you to tie this with something we used to hear a lot of in the past, to say, oh, women are their own enemies.
Well, thank you very much, Ibrahim. I listened to you very well and very clearly. Yes, the body language of Mr. President is very, very important. I said it at the beginning. He is our greatest ally. And we know the role women played in every electionary campaign, women are the drivers. Women are the spies of any successful election, from campaign to the voting. Women will come out in sunshine and in rain to vote. But when it comes to enjoying the dividends of democracy, they're being completely sidelined. That is unacceptable, and it is portraying us as a country that is not interested in meaningful development. Because if we talk about meaningful development, more women should be at the decision table, because their participation is key, and their role, starting from the family to the community, is very important and critical. Yes, most women don't come out to vote for fellow women. There are two reasons: illiteracy and poverty. The men brainwash them, and because of poverty, they succumb to it. Okay. But there's a lot of advocacy going on, and women have realized now. They've seen it and they have felt it. How they've been completely neglected, how they've been completely forgotten after the peanuts they receive during elections, and after that, once they get into office, they shut their doors. Okay. So this is a lesson that we should not only leave it to women, because it's not about women, it's about the nation, it's about meaningful development. It's about when women are on the decision table, things happen. And things happen for the betterment of the society, not just women.
All right, let's return to the phones. We have Gaius calling from Abuja. Gaius calling in from Abuja. Hello. Hello, Gaius.
Hello, sir.
Yes, go right ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sure, go ahead.
Hello?
Go ahead, Gaius.
I can barely hear you.
Go ahead, Gaius, you're on.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Go ahead. You can see, if you see...
I want to contribute on the issue of political parties, putting it as a law. I can hear you. To make sure that women have that particular 30% or 40% of elected women in position in Nigeria. If not, even if the law is passed into law, it will not work.
All right, thank you very much, Gaius. And well, let's quickly go to Samson Itodo, since you just have a couple of minutes left to be with us before we return to the studio here. And I just like to sound you out on this. Do you really agree that women are their own enemies? Surely you must have heard that said so many times.
You know, there's a theory in political communication, and it's called conditioning, that you propagate certain narratives because you want to influence political behavior or response to a particular social phenomenon, to a particular issue. This whole narrative that women are their enemies, I would say it's a deliberate narrative that is propagated to dilute, to weaken, and trivialize this conversation. And I really say it's unfortunate. When men compete and contest against men, no one says men, are the enemies of men. But we forget the fact that the whole concept of democracy and political participation is built on certain fundamental rights that people have. And that people have a freedom of choice. And so when men don't support men, they are expressing a particular freedom of choice. It doesn't mean that they are enemies of men. It's the same rule that should also apply, to women. So this whole thing that women are not supportive of women, it really holds no water, I must say. There's no anyone who thinks that if a woman shows up, every woman should queue behind her, then does not understand the whole concept of politics and democracy. So I really don't think that is the issue. Even though without trying to sound very dismissive, I think it's really a pedestrian argument to say that women are not supportive of women. I think people have a right to express political preference and choice. It's not a functionality of whether they don't support women. The second point I also want to make is that we need a strong counter-narrative to this. And the counter-narrative, to this particular belief, I wouldn't even say a belief, is to focus on the value that women bring to the table. And I really think that those who are making this argument are not taking cognizance of what we lose as a country where we don't have women on the table. The cost is too high for us to continue to pay as a country and as a people. And I hope that our leaders in the National Assembly will have the pen and the gavel, will strike the gavel in favor of this bill. Because if they do that this particular moment, then history and posterity will be fair to them.
All right. So thank you so very much, Samson Itodo, Executive Director, YEAGA Africa. Thank you for joining this conversation from Sweden. We wish you well. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay.
There was a question you asked about, are women ready?
Yes.
And I want to say a resounding yes to it. Women have been ever ready since independence. Yes. Women participated in negotiation of Nigerian state. Even though that didn't translate, we have the likes of Janet Moke. They were in Lancaster House. They were part of the constitution. But the issue that the fact that it did not translate immediately to political gain, they were nationalists. And women now are ready. The problem is, and some are caught up with this, do you want to continue to play the brand of politics, or you want to come in with reformation and play the politics in ideal way, so to speak? And then every day the bar or the goalpost kind of shift is highly monetized, is becoming very violent, is mercantile, godfatherism. But I don't despair, because I know women also have the resilience. And once they are given that platform, because they have suffered, as we've all outlined in this discussion, historical marginalization, historical injustices. And at times, it is to please men that they vote where the men wanted them to vote. When we got independence, women, the politicians, and not them politicians, didn't want women to vote in the North, and they didn't. And in 1979, they said, oh, yeah, we're ready. Let our women vote. And the women voted for where they want them to vote. So the issue of socialization and the power dynamics and power relations, we should not forget. Because you see in fact, I recall a story of a woman who said he wanted to contest election and then wanted to carry along the husband's family, and the husband was sold in on this and wanted to give her all the support. But once she approached the family, you want to take a call? Yes, please.
Yes, let's take this.
Yes.
Ifeanyi on the line, hello. If you're there, go ahead. Ifeanyi.
Hello. want to emphasize on
Okay.
the question.
Go ahead. All right. Okay. So,
but once the husband wanted to support the wife and felt that she had more quality, leadership qualities. But once he told the family, the kinsmen, after that, they just turned to the man. They looked at the man and just said, "We are so disappointed that we have a son like you. So you now brought your wife to tell us that your wife wants to join politics and contest for position. So because you're what, imbecile or something is wrong with you." So that will show you the issue of mindset and where the society places women. And some women have internalized this position. So that when they start acting it out, it requires also a bit of conscientization, a bit of awareness, and motivating them to get to the stage that they will also think this is their right. So, but now, we live in a world where we really know that things have changed.
Okay.
And we must be part of that change.
Okay. Have another caller on the line, Michael from Lagos. Michael calling in from Lagos. Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Yes, go right ahead. Michael, we are all ears. All right, I think we're another of those dropped calls.
Yeah, network.
Okay. Well, just see if you can call back. Hopefully we'll get your thoughts in as well. But
perception.
yes, the perception.
Yeah.
Right, let's return to you.
I want to add something to what Prof said. I fully agree with you that the perception, the mindset of the people also affects what we are experiencing. But things are changing. A lot is happening now because CAN and most of the churches are now encouraging their members to go into politics and to go in as good Christians to clean up the mess. And we've been trying the men for all these years. Nothing has changed, no progress. Why do we keep repeating the same thing? Why not support these reserved seats? Get more women involved, fully engaged in politics. After the first and second election, we are given it 3 cycles. I bet you, Cyril, by the time we have the first and second cycle, the difference will be so clear because women are action.
All right.
When they believe in something and when they are there, the passion, the love, the mother in them will definitely speak. And once a woman is there, the dividends of democracy will be more visible in the various constituencies. By the time we come back for the second cycle, the third cycle, Nigerians will all hail it and queue in and support more women. I have no doubts in my mind that if Mr. President and the leadership, the President, the members of the National Assemblies, who are the key allies, and our governors, if they support this bill, history will remember them for good. Joy was talking about where are the godmothers. The godmothers are there. Our number one godmother is our First Lady. The wife of the President is a core politician. She's been there. She's a true mother. History will remember her for good. If she keys in, take up these reserved seats and drive it. Wives of governors are another allies that once they embrace it, support women in their various, because the governors are the ones, they have the final say on who will have the seat to the National Assembly and to the state assemblies. Once they believe and the wives of governors support and key in, we are good to go.
Look, it goes beyond the political class. The legislators who will pass this bill, the National Assembly and the state assemblies, are all supposedly representatives of the people. So beyond the immediate political class, which are those segments of society that this advocacy should be taken to? The people themselves, who will now in turn press it on their representatives to fully support this bill, the wider picture here.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. The advocacy should go to all Nigerians because, like as the panelists here has stated today, you know, things are changing. The level of consciousness is increasing. In fact, you know, there is a trajectory that leads to change. First is awareness. People become aware of what is going on, and then the next level is the level of consciousness. When they reach the level of consciousness, they know that they can do something about it. And then the final level is organizing for change. The level of awareness in Nigeria is so high today that the average person understands what is going on in society. The percentage of people that have reached the level of consciousness is low. People who know and are willing to do something about it. And then the third level of organizing is actually very low. So we need to continue to not just to create awareness, but raise the level of consciousness. Let people know that they can do something. Because take, for instance, you talk about voting. Many Nigerians today say the vote does not count. But it's not true. Votes count. If votes do not count, they will not be paying 10,000 naira to voters. You understand? So vote counts. So people have to know that, you know, when you come out en masse, the possibility of manipulation
will be low.
And so, this advocacy we are doing, when the entire society is charged, any politician that refuses to support the reserve seat bill will have consequence from his constituency. Yes. I think that is the way we are going. Yeah. Yes. Mobilize people, mobilize daughters, mobilize wives, mobilize women, mobilize men, allies, so that these changes will happen. Yeah. And, you know, when we do this awareness, the number of people who do what I call blaming the victim in society will decrease. You know, in some parts of the country, for instance, there is widowhood practices. Who enforces the widowhood practices? Women. They enforce it on who? Women. Why? Is it that they hate women? No. You know, it's the way patriarchy is organized, roles are assigned. So, as a women group, if you don't perform that role, your significance decreases. In fact, we'll be gone completely. So people must stop blaming the victim, blaming women. Like Itodo mentioned, you know, we see men kill each other to take each other's position. And it's seen as normal. But when two women are fighting for one position, they say, you see, women don't like themselves. And when a thing is stated again and again, people internalize it. And it becomes as if it's a fact. So I think that the media has to do more about, you know, educating people. Because, you know, today, some of the views we have today is not the views we had when we were young. When I was young, I'm an Urobo man. I grew up to learn from culture and tradition that if a woman gets pregnant, a young girl that is not even married, you know, there are procedures for marriage, rites, you know. One of the rites is circumcision. And when you are circumcised, you are a queen, you know, you have small queens who will rub some red this thing. It's a big ceremony. And so, but if you have not married and, you know, you get pregnant outside wedlock, they will quickly organize circumcision for you. The reason we were told is that if the head of the child touches the clitoris during delivery, the child will die. But today, we know it's not true. And even in Delta State, there is a law against circumcision. So we need more education. The media needs to be even more critical because I see a lot of, you know, ignorant current affairs, public affairs commentators.
Call it gender bias.
You know, come and spew, you know, ignorant positions that reinforce, you know, the gender inequity that we have in society. And to be fair, some of them is because of being conservative. Like, you know, I was privileged to be working at the National Assembly from 2019 to 2023 as Chief of Staff to the Deputy President of the Senate. And I saw conservative legislators, you know, in practice, say, no, how can you give women? We have only 4 women in the Senate. We cannot drink water. If you have 20 women in the Senate, what do you think will happen? Those conservative, you know, and some of them even say, no, it's against religion or against tradition. Women should go to take care of the children. That is as a result of that. That's why we're having a lot of problems with family. So there are people who are conservative.
Yes.
And it's only knowledge, it's only training, it's only bringing all of these things that can change the mindset and perspective of people so that they move from awareness to consciousness, from consciousness to organizing for change.
Right. Maybe you were going to come in there at that point.
Thank you very much, Prof. The issue of these conservative legislators is not true. They are there making all this noise. Nigeria is a plural country as far as religion is concerned, isn't it? In Islamic countries, Saudi Arabia, they have reserved seats for women. United Emirates, they have reserved seats for women. The Jordan, they have reserved seats for women. Pakistan, they have reserved seats for women. So what are we talking about? South Africa, Senegal, Dakar, these are Islamic countries. If they have reserved seats for men and they know the importance of women in national development, then Nigerians, we are not serious. We are jokers. But I believe that it is time, whether they like it or not, the country is ready. Women are ready. And we will rise up to the occasion.
All right, we have just a few minutes left of this program, and something struck me while Dr. Ibuzo was speaking. He talked about conservative people, and he talked about advocacy to all these things that people would say cultural. And it reminds me of something which I would like Professor Joy Ezilo to speak to. Now, this, at the time this was mentioned, it sounded like a joke to many people, and they laughed. But again, it underscores what traditional or cultural factors can mean. It was at a book launch, was Senator Chris Ayan was launching her book, and she recalled her foray into politics and when she attempted to contest the governorship position, and someone said to her, well, if we elect you as governor, who will break the kola nut?
I wanted to. Right. I couldn't even predict that. I missed the book launch. I would have and I said congratulations to her. Right. I was not around.
So who would break the kola nut? And she said, well, I'll appoint a commissioner for breaking kola. But again...
No, but that will show you, because I think the first Igbo woman, and actually the first that came close to getting the governorship position, was Senator Joy Emodi in Anambra then. And that issue, and she became even the first female Igbo senator. Also that issue, came up. And at times it's good to, just like I say, even in the women's decision, we choose our battles. You know also where to put it in Nigeria and what prioritize your goal. Because people can just say something as innocuous just to throw you off balance. And if you're not there, you tell them, I'll break the kola nut. After all, I'm a governor. Then, of course, you incur more rats of traditionalist cultural leaders. They will go and then have a meeting over you. So I think we have to be smart about these things. And what is really disturbing is that culture is supposed to be a mirror of accepted usage.
It's dynamic.
It's dynamic. It's not static. How come that we are now making it so static? Culture is supposed to change over time, and actually do change. Because look at people. If you find yourself in America and you're a man, or in Europe, when you see a man carrying a baby, it won't be it's not a sight to worry about, because of course, maybe the wife is what. But if it's in Nigeria and you see a man carrying, people will be stopping. I'm sure if a man tried now, how many people will stop to tell what is wrong? I mean, no wife, or is your wife, woman rapper. So we have to look at it that way. But let's just say, please, let us not trivialize this issue. Nigerian women are ready for transformational leadership. They are ready to take up the position of power, and then use it for the public goods. Use it for happiness for the greatest number of people. Make sure, if women get to, women, I want to say Nigerian women are clearly ready. They are, and they have what it takes. Let people stop giving this excuse, oh, they are not qualified, they are not competent. We have gone past that stage. They have shown even in the world stage how competent and what we can have for, Nigeria can export to the rest of the world. So I think let me just say this in case we're just concluding. We cannot run or stand on one foot and expect development. It was one of the greatest Pan-Africanists, Julius Nyerere, that said this. You cannot develop standing on one foot. You must have to carry everybody along. Even our own cosmology, even in Igbo land, in so many, you require that duality. You require men, women, and we have to come to understand that progress for women is also progress for men, and progress more to the family, because the family stand to benefit. So it is time side by side, working side by side, in this side-by-side movement, then we can build a Nigeria of our dream. We can build a Nigeria of our dream, make Nigeria great and the greatest in Africa. And we cannot do that leaving our women behind. The time is now for that inclusion, for us to push towards that and give women a chance and see probably something, I believe, really truly believe it will be different. Thank you
so very much. Well, Dr. Abuja, your closing comments.
Who breaking of kola nut help? You see, we are in a modern society. It was Mahmoud Mamdani who wrote a classic on citizen and subjects. Today, when it appears as if in some parts of our society we are going back to feudalism, and you see relics of feudalism wanting to impose feudal order in a modern society. No. What does it take to break kola nut? And I think I'm basically stating this to challenge those notions. What does it take to break kola nut? Why can't a woman break kola nut? So I think that what we need today is how to improve the standard of living of citizens, and not all those relics of feudalism or culture that is repugnant to natural justice. Where we are today, we need to make progress as a society. We need to make progress for our people, and not talking about issues and concepts and traditions that will not help our people.
Right. Thank you so much. And Dame Pauline Talen, as we round off your closing comments.
Thank you very much. Women are fully ready. The time is now for Nigerians to show us that they really appreciate their mothers, they appreciate their allies, because there is no home that is complete without a woman. So the role of a woman cannot be overemphasized. Women play this critical role. And excluding women out of politics or participation is spelling doom for this country. With all that God has blessed us in this country, the only missing link is the poor participation of women in politics. And we have qualified women in all areas, at the international level, in the field of science, in the field of, in the judiciary. We have women that have done exceptionally well. So there is no area that women have failed this country. This is the time that we give them that chance. And Mr. President, our governors and all our legislators, this is the time that you have to make history. Make it right with history, and you'll be remembered well for it. Thank you, and God bless.
Wow. And thank you so very much. And as I always say, no one program can take on all the issues. So I'd like to thank our guests tonight on this program, Dame Pauline Talen, Professor Joy Ezilo, and Dr. Otive Iguzo. Thank you so very much. Earlier on, we signed off Samson Itodo, who joined us via Zoom from Sweden. And we also like to say thank you to you too, for those who called in and for those who stayed with us until this point in time. I'd like to say thank you. Thank you for being part of this program.
Thank you.
So that's it. Next week, we'll be back with NTA Tuesday Live. I'm Cyril Stober. Bye for now.